open seats over here if anybody's still looking, and over here. Thanks everyone for being here this morning. Good morning and welcome to the 2017-18 General Session. My name is Deanne Conrad. I'm the Community Relations Supervisor for the district. As we begin this morning, we hope that this event will be energy-filled and inspirational to each one of you here today. We're very proud to begin our morning together by hearing from a very sweet and talented student from Robert Frost Elementary School. I'm going to invite Mercedes Baker to come up here on stage. Mercedes is going to be a second grader at Robert Frost. She is going to show you her patriotism this morning by singing our national anthem, and I promise that you will be inspired by her talents. Right now, I'm going to ask that all of us please rise and display proper flag etiquette. Our students from the JROTC program at Washington High School will present our nation's colors.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watch, were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets rang clear, the bombs bursting in air gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free, o'er the land of the free, and the home of the brave.
Good job, girl. How many of us could stand up here this morning in front of a group of people like that and do that? So congratulations. Thank you, Mercedes, for being here today. We were also to have music for her national anthem, and for some reason we didn't kick off with that music this morning. So Mercedes probably was waiting a little bit for that, and it just didn't happen. So thanks again, Mercedes, for being here and for showing us what a second grader can do. Also, a special thank you to Washington High School's JROTC students under the direction of Senior Army Instructor Rodney Burmeister. You know, each year we float several ideas about themes for this year's event. We strive to make it meaningful, inspiring, and fun. This year, we just kept coming back to the same theme that we used in March for the Dr. John W. Harris Sioux Falls Teacher of the Year ceremony. A quote from Henry Adams guided that celebration and guides us here today as well. A teacher affects eternity. He can never tell where his influence stops. While teachers are at the core of our organization and teaching is at the heart of everything we do, we realize that not everyone in this room this morning carries the title of teacher. That doesn't mean, however, that you have any less influence over the lives of children. In fact, you have an infinite impact. Our school nurses, social workers, and counselors meet the mental, physical, and emotional needs of our students. Our awesome child nutrition staff provides nourishing breakfasts and lunches. Our custodians do their part to keep classrooms and hallways clean, offering a welcoming learning environment. The clerical staff greet parents and volunteers, answer questions, and offer a friendly face to all with whom they come in contact. The education assistants here with us this morning help our students make connections to the curriculum, stay safe on the playgrounds and in the lunchroom, and support staff in a variety of ways. And then there is the staff that makes sure you get paid for your work. Those who crunch the massive numbers of our budget that serves 24,000 students and nearly 3,300 employees throughout the Sioux Falls School District.
I say, did somebody mention crunching the numbers?
Say that again.
I say, did somebody mention crunching the numbers?
Try it again.
I say, did somebody mention crunching the numbers?
My dear.
My dear.
Yes, Todd, I did say I was crunching the numbers. Ladies and gentlemen, Sioux Falls Business Manager Todd Veek, wearing a Martin Luther costume, is it? Or is that a graduation robe? If so, you're 3 months late, if that's the case.
No, foolish colonist. I am John Wallace, English mathematician from the 1600s.
I see the striking resemblance.
Can you not see from my robes, my velvet cap, and my 17th century comb?
Wow. Is that a budget book in your hand, or are you just happy to...
No.
Oh.
This treaty is a colossus. Our budget is small.
Like my wit?
Like your wit.
Wow, all right. So I'll be honest. No, I didn't recognize you, Todd, when you came out this morning. I'm not really familiar with John Wallace. I have to tell you, it's been a lot of years since I've really delved into math. The getup is interesting, but it's not Halloween.
Pish posh. There's small choice in rotten apples. To stand before this grand assembly and talk about the infinite influence these individuals have on children, their families, friends, and future co-workers, and all the lives those will reach, and not appreciate the inventor of infinity? For shame, good lady, for shame.
Did you just call me a good lady? That's the nicest thing you've ever said to me.
Somebody hand-wrote it on my parchment here with an orange pen.
I'm sorry, yes, of course. Inventor of infinity. That seems like kind of a stretch of the imagination.
Okay. So, infinity is a concept that dates back thousands of years from several different cultures. But John Wallace is credited with designing the symbol we think of when we discuss infinity. The symbol that looks like a sideways 8. He was highly regarded as a leading mathematical mind of his time, and he influenced Isaac Newton's successes.
Wonderful. Thanks for that explanation. I think we saw the infinity symbol, so I now get what you're trying to deliver to us this morning. We're talking about that symbol that young couples use to describe their love that lasts forever. And the symbol that tattoo artists, of course, have had to perfect over time, incorporating the words like love and believe. Is that the symbol?
Aye to the proof, as mountains are for winds that shake not, though they blow perpetually.
I don't know what you're talking about, Todd. But most of the time I don't. By the way, what's with all these old English insults? I really don't think that's quite necessary this morning.
Silence! Too much sadness hath congealed your blood, and melancholy is the nurse of frenzy. Thou art hearkening back to days when mathematicians were treated like rock stars. We're more famous than the Jendashians, an age of reason, which science and math heralded the advancement of culture and humanity, not face chats, snap suites, and Pokemon phone homes.
I really got to question what you got into this morning. Seems like maybe you didn't have coffee or milk for your breakfast. By the way, genius, it's not the Jendashians. It's the Kardashians, Facebook, Snapchat, and Pokemon Go. But I do think we can agree that math probably doesn't get the credit that is due.
'Tis true, horned beast. My father was a pastor, and me mum wanted me to become a doctor. But I was intrigued by higher calling, becoming a student of the most grandiose subject on terra firma, mathematics. I made significant contributions in the areas of trigonometry, calculus, and geometry. Hence, the crown pressed into service my cryptography to help the kingdom decipher messages of thine enemy.
Wow, that sounds like something the current presidential administration could use, perhaps. By the way, horn beast, did you hear him call me that? Horn beast? It sounds like perhaps he found a Shakespearean insult generator online. I don't know.
I agree with you, John. And by the way, we got to start reading the fine print in our contracts. When math no longer sparks the human spirit, then we will lose everything that makes us human. It's all about discovery.
Okay, Jamie? I'm confused. Assistant Superintendent Jamie Nold, clearly playing dress up also. John Wallace, Albert Einstein, I think you two are from two different centuries here.
Nonsense, Dummkopf.
Seriously.
In the infinity of space and time, and we go to the famous words of Doc Brown when he said, "Great Scott, back to the future." Or the present, or the past, that it's all a matter of perspective.
Well, okay, great. More insults from history. This is fantastic. So I'm sensing a theme here this morning. I hope you're following along. That math, science based on math, infinity, Einstein. I don't happen to recall that you were the best student.
Yeah, it is true. I did have some difficulties in school, but working in the patent office gave me time to really think about things, and I became enamored with the vastness of interactions and the study of infinite possibilities.
Infinity, striving to be the best in man's duty. It is his own reward. Mahatma Gandhi.
If the doors of perception were cleansed, everything would appear to man as if it is infinite, by William Blake.
The meaning of life is contained in every single expression of life. It is present on the infinity of forms and phenomena, and that exist in all of creation.
Well, that one's a nice quote. Who said that? Emerson? Faulkner?
Michael Jackson.
That wasn't good. You know, I, Albert Einstein, am also known for a famous quote about infinity.
Now, this should be good. Will we be able to understand it?
Only two things are infinite, the universe and human stupidity. And I'm not sure about the first one. Albert Einstein, me.
Well, I can't argue with that one, I guess, but...
Hold it. I have the one more.
Okay.
To infinity and
Beyond!
Now, that one's probably a little more current. We can understand that a little bit more. You know, what does infinity have to do with the Sioux Falls School District, though?
I see a woman may be made a fool if she had not a spirit to resist.
Stop.
Everyone in this room contributes in a positive way to the lives of children every day. But their influence ceases not with that child on that day. Our students take with them their experiences and the opportunities that they have and carry them throughout their lives, passing them on to others who also continue to pass those on.
Every time an EA helps a student with math problem, or a custodian helps a student in the hall tie their shoe or clean up any type of mess, or a healthy meal is served by our cook staff, or a sick child gets treatment from our nurses. Anytime a parent is walked to a classroom by anyone in the building that helps, or a coach doesn't give up on a player, or a social worker finds ways for our students to be able to get to school, the learning, the kindness, and all those things that they do each day, the passion that they have, makes that impact, not for one time, but it grows and flourishes as it is shared throughout their lives. What is shared again and again and again.
Indubitably. Just as the preschool and kindergarten teacher can play a part in our future graduation rates, the middle school teacher can influence a career choice. The high school teacher can ignite a passion for lifelong learning. The work these people do every day creates concentric circles that forever interact with the whole world, and their influence is truly infinite.
That's about the smartest thing either one of you have said this morning. So it is. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us here on stage this morning. I wish I could say that parting is such sweet sorrow, but go. Next, we will invite the president of the Sioux Falls School Board, Kate Parker, forward to say a few words. Kate.
Thanks, Deanne, and thanks for the crate, by the way. I hope you all can see me. Good morning. What a beautiful day it is out today, isn't it? I am Kate Parker, and I'm honored to be the new president of the Sioux Falls School Board. While I serve in this capacity as a professional who was elected by the public, I also stand before you as a mother of two great boys. Jack is going to be a 7th grader at Patrick Henry Middle School, and Bobby, my youngest, is going to be a 4th grader at Sonia Sotomayor. Sorry. I wish all the teachers at both schools good luck. I share that personal information because as a mom, I am passionate about my boys' education. My husband, Matt, and I provide the sometimes more than should be necessary reminders at home for them to do their reading, finish their homework, and explore their interests. We are what I would call a pretty typical Sioux Falls family. Then, when my boys go off to school in the morning, each of you, collectively, continues to challenge them in the classroom, hallways, and even the cafeteria. You support them in their learning. You give them an opportunity to socialize with friends and develop deep relationships. You offer choice, and you offer them a chance to succeed. And for that, as a mother, I am infinitely grateful. And as leader of the Sioux Falls School Board, I am equally as passionate about the education we deliver to each of our students that we serve. While my boys have a pretty typical childhood, we all know so many others do not. They live in turmoil, chaos, and confusion. They wake up wondering if there will be food in the cupboards, if the car has enough gas to get them to school, and if someone will be there to get them to school on time. School is not only a safe and welcoming place for them, it is the one place they can find acceptance and encouragement without question. At school, teachers, counselors, librarians, custodians, and school secretaries fill them up instead of knock them down. Going to school means that they can have a nourishing meal, a high five from the gym teacher, the reassurance from the school nurse that the headache they're complaining about is just because they didn't get enough sleep the night before. At school, each student can discover who they really are and what they want to become. You make that possible for nearly 24,000 students every single day. You make an infinite impact each time you connect with a student. As a school board, we couldn't be more appreciative of the work that you do, day in and day out. Your efforts may not be recognized immediately, but you are making an infinite impact. As a mom, I thank you from the bottom of my heart, not only for encouraging my boys to be the best versions of themselves, but also for encouraging their friends, their classmates, and your colleagues to do the very best. In fact, your work inspires students to reach for the stars. Take a look.
Hey everyone, my name is Luke Beery. I am a graduate of Oscar Howe Elementary School, Memorial Middle School, and Roosevelt High School. I'm making this video today from the rooftop of the Flight Project Center at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory in Pasadena, California. That pretty much makes up a lot of these, well, pretty much all the buildings you can see in the background here. There's a lot of cool stuff going on, like this tall one right here. That's the building where they do a lot of the day-to-day planning and operations for the Curiosity rover on Mars and a lot of other cool stuff. There are some pretty sweet things happening here. I'm working here for my third time as a summer intern. This time around, I'm working on developing a mission to Jupiter's moon, Europa. The mission is scheduled to launch in 2022. And if you have not heard of Europa at this point, I promise you that by 2022 you will have. It's a moon of Jupiter that has a subsurface saltwater ocean with more water than all of Earth. And scientists think it's the best shot in the solar system for finding any kind of developed life that did not originate on Earth. Like I said, I'm here during the summer. During the school year, I'm currently a graduate student at the University of Colorado Boulder. I'm working on a PhD in astrodynamics. And astrodynamics is basically the study of the motion of satellites in space. So whether you want to just orbit one planet or be on a trajectory to another planet, that kind of stuff is all in astrodynamics. I've come a far ways since my days of growing up in Sioux Falls. And I owe so much of that to the incredible staff of teachers and coaches and theater directors that I had along the way. You laid so much groundwork for all of this to happen, and really helped set me apart from all of the students that I've been, I guess, competing with since then. The Sioux Falls School District was an amazing place to get started, and I'm very proud to have my origins there. So thank you very much to all of you. There are way too many teachers to call out by name, but there are a lot of you who I hope are doing very well. You've done a lot of good for me in my life, and I'm sure the lives of many other students. So thank you from all of us, and I hope you have a great school year.
See, you are what makes the Sioux Falls School District great. And for more on the vision to continue this infinite impact, here's your superintendent, Dr. Brian Maher. And thank you, and have a great year.
Anpe Tuashte. For those of you who have taken the Native American Studies course, you know I just said good morning, and I wish you well. A couple of things have struck me this morning. Number one, I'm a radio changer. I change the dial on the radio frequently. I hear a song I like, I stay there. If not, I go to another station. Drives my wife nuts. But this morning, first song I heard was Beach Boys, Fun, Fun, Fun. I thought, cool, that's a good omen. What a great thing. Got over, I flipped the station, actually, and I went to the Garth Brooks channel, and what I heard there was Beach Boys, Good Vibrations. I thought, wow, this is interesting. So I tried to do some reflecting and think of what does this say? What does this mean? What's the meaning of these signs and symbols? And I thought, well, the first thing is I must be in a bit of an upbeat and positive mood this morning because those really struck my heart. So I think that's probably true. The second thing that came to my mind is, gosh, if you're going to reference this start to your day in front of this staff, you're not only going to look old, you're going to confirm that you're old. So be it. Or the third thing I thought is, maybe I wish we were still on summer break. I don't know. I don't know what it said, but it was kind of a cool start to the morning, and I thought I'd share that with you. Back to the task at hand here. Well, good morning and welcome back to the 2017-18 school year. I fully recognize how much you have to get done before kids get here, and I know that every minute that I speak is one less minute you have to prepare. I apologize for that, and I thank you for giving of your time so that we can come together this one time during the year to share our common vision as a school district. Also, I want to give thanks to John Wallace and Albert Einstein for getting the morning started in an educational and lighthearted way. Also to Deanne Conrad. And Deanne, I promise you I won't take any shots at you. You've had a tough start to your day. But it kind of feels like the year of math with business manager Veek as John Wallace and former math teacher and now assistant superintendent for administrative services Jamie Nold as Albert Einstein. The former math teacher in me found that equation to be balanced and a very fun start to the day. As you may have picked up already, our theme for this year is infinite impact, and we'll learn more about that as we go on through this morning. But first, I want to give a couple of very sincere thank yous. You know, as a school district, we have so many partners that make what we do possible. And we have shining examples of those partnerships with us here this morning. First of all, I would ask the folks from ARC Inc. to come out here. They are part of what makes this morning great and part of what will make your T-shirts great later today. So thank you to ARC Inc. Also, our corporate partner this morning, making this morning's experience as good as it can be, is Great Western Bank. So I want to give a shout out and a thank you to Great Western Bank as well. Next, I want to talk to you just a little bit, and this is not my strength. I don't ask for money well, and I'm not asking you for money, but I want to talk to you a little bit about charitable giving. And I know charitable giving, at least to me, is a very personal thing. And so I don't want to invade your personal space. But I want to say, if you're wondering what to do with any of charitable giving, I have two real good options for you. Number one is the Sioux Empire United Way, and number two is the Sioux Falls Education Foundation. The United Way, as many of you know, gives to us in very big ways throughout the year. Probably the most pronounced this last year was their venture into the mental health space. And they're doing a lot in schools around Sioux Falls, but also in Sioux Falls in this area. And I think there's a lot more to be done yet in that area. They work with us, and they work with our kids, and they work with our families on a daily basis. So United Way, you'll learn more about them in your buildings in the weeks to come. If you're wondering where to spend your charitable dollars, that's one good option. Another excellent option is our own Education Foundation. Our Education Foundation, I find it interesting in a school district our size, that our Education Foundation is staffed totally by volunteers. People from the community working for the good of our school district, working for the good of our staff, working for the good of our kids. All volunteers, all of them working hard, and they do wonderful things for our school system. Probably the most notable recent thing that they've done is they gave all new teachers, brand new to the profession this year, they upped the giving this year from $100 to $200. And I know $200 doesn't go very far, but it goes a lot farther than $0. My purpose in talking to you about the Education Foundation and United Way is to let you know the great impact those two organizations have on what we do on a daily basis. They're both attached to our mission, and I would also tell you that I'm very happy to say I'm a giver to both organizations as well. So enough of that. I'm not very good on that sales piece. So let me get back to the script. The next thing I would like to do this morning is introduce to you 5 people who are critical in the high functioning of our school district. If you would please stand as I call your name and remain standing. Our newest member to the Board of Education, Cynthia Mickelson. Board Member Carly Ryder. Board Member Todd Tolke. Board Member and Vice President Kent Alberti. And you've already met Board Member and this year's Board President Kate Parker. Stay standing for just a minute, please. I find it interesting that these 5 members, all elected from the general public, number one, either themselves or their spouses or their kids, and in many cases, and their spouses and their kids, all are members of or graduates of the Sioux Falls School District. They are invested, and their actions show love and support for the school district now and for years to come. I want to thank all 5 of you for your service to our community. And now, back to our theme. You are at the center of this year's theme. Each one of the 3,300 staff members who are sitting in the Pentagon here today will impact and have an infinite impact on the lives of what we think will be about 24,000 K through 12 students this year and about 25,000 pre-K through 12 students this year. Think about that. Think about that sheer number, the impact you will have on the individuals you encounter, and the infinite impact you will have altogether. You'll build relationships with them. You'll shape their lives in ways nobody else can. You'll guide them, you'll encourage them, and sometimes you'll test them. Sometimes you'll show them tough love. Ultimately, what we'll do is get these kids to reach their limits. Their time in the Sioux Falls School District will impact them for infinity. If you don't believe me, I'd like to give you an example here this morning. I'd like to introduce a very special family to all of you here this morning. This is the Gage family. Can I have the Gage family please join me on stage? This family plays a very important role in the long history of Sioux Falls. In fact, you could say their family really shaped Sioux Falls into the wonderful and growing city that it is today. William Gage was the patriarch of the family, and if you'll take your eyes to the screens, William Gage is the gentleman in the hat in the picture. William Sr., he graduated from the old Washington High School in 1914. And a year later, he and his childhood friend and classmate, Harold Gable, began pouring concrete sidewalks in Sioux Falls. That tiny business grew into what you and I know today as Gage Brothers, the concrete company located on West 12th Street near Interstate 29, and also expanding to increase their impact on the city of Sioux Falls and actually on our country and in our world. William Sr. married and welcomed son William Jr. into this world. William Jr. graduated from Washington High School in 1935 before honorably serving in the United States Marine Corps during World War II. You see his picture on the screen. Upon his return from war, the Gage family grew to include William Jr.'s son, Fred Gage. That's this guy right here.
Sorry. I was looking at a picture.
As you've seen, Fred Gage is with us here today. Fred graduated from Lincoln High School in 1967 and continued his work in the family business. Fred's son, Matt, eventually came along and graduated from Lincoln High School in 1994 and married his wife, Amy, a 1996 graduate of Washington High School. In 2006, Matt and his business partners combined their talent to build a successful website development company called the Gage Team. Today, the most recent generation of Gage family includes Allison, a junior at Lincoln who couldn't join us here this morning because she couldn't take off of work. It's that commitment that we love. Ashley, a freshman at Lincoln. Aiden, a 7th grader at Patrick Henry. Anderson, a 4th grader at Susan B. Anthony. And Archer, a 2nd grader at Susan B. Anthony. In case you've lost count, that's 5 generations of Gages who've been educated by the dedicated staff of the Sioux Falls School District. To say you and all other staff members who came before you have made an impact on this family is an understatement. And while I don't want to overstate your significance or our significance into the development of their family, I do want to say this is one example of how we have an infinite impact and not only runs deep through the bloodlines of the Gages, but in the greater community of Sioux Falls. I would also say that Gage Brothers is having an infinite impact on what we do. Let's give one more great round of applause to the Gage family. Thank you. Okay. Next, I want to move on this morning and talk about the infinite impact that you'll all have and the vision that we'll go through here this morning. I get that question from time to time. So what do you see? Where's the district going? Where's it headed? And that's a complicated question, but I think we all have a part in accomplishing that vision. And I want to talk to you this morning about those things that you see up on that screen. But first, before we get to some of what we talk about here this morning, I want you to watch another video and see the impact that you've had.
Hi, I'm Joni Cutler. I'm here in the courtroom where I preside as a circuit court judge. And I'm also a proud Whittier girl and Lincoln High graduate. Go Pats. The first robe that I ever put on came back and was back in 1973, and from this old Statesman photograph, it was from Girls State when I won a seat on the Supreme Court there. So never to underestimate the experiences that you give our kids and what they might do with that someday. I was a kid that was considered to be at risk. I was the daughter of a single parent who was disabled, and we were very poor. It was through the care and the hard work of my coaches and teachers who made learning fun and interesting to me and gave me a positive place to succeed that I was able to overcome some of those things and go on and have the career and the place in our community that I have today. So thank you back to Whittier Science Department, Lincoln High Science Department, Rosie Blunk, and this is a picture from way back when. As a thespian, I enjoyed learning and gaining confidence being on the stage and being in front of crowds. And also to my coaches who made sure that when I didn't have rides to school or a place to stay, that they helped me with that. I still wear this that was given to me at homecoming, my senior year at Lincoln, and I doubt very much I would have achieved the things that I have or had the opportunities that I've had I not had the support, encouragement, and care from all of my teachers, the fine administration and staff who always made my day a better day at school. So thank you, and good luck with your school year.
Beginning to see the impact you've had. The individualized approach worked well with Joni Cutler. It's also working well with our graduation rate. As you know, that's one of the things that we've really emphasized. How do we improve our graduation rate? Our graduation rate was taking a steady downward spiral over the last several years, and that's something that we've really emphasized this last year. You see that arrow shows an upward trend. I believe when the statewide results come out this year, that we'll see about a 2% increase in our graduation rate. I'm very proud of that. I'm very proud of all of you who have made that happen. I'm very proud that we've done that without decreasing requirements or decreasing rigor. I'm very pleased that we've done that by looking at an individualized approach to how we get kids to what I call that finish line that is graduation. And I can tell you it's great for me to talk when I talk to civic groups, and I do that a lot. And I love to talk about that increase, and I love to talk about the percentage. I really love when I put up a bar graph and I can show that that bar graph's going up. It's such a nice visual. But really what we're talking about here, had our graduation rate stayed the same from last year to this year, 32 kids who now have a diploma would not have a diploma. That's what we're really talking about when I talk percentages and bar graphs and goals and vision. It's about impacting the lives of kids. 32 kids have a diploma because many, many, many of you went the extra mile to get those students to the finish line. And I would say that in every slide that you'll see and in every goal that we have, we can't accomplish anything without impacting positively the lives of kids. Whether we talk about graduation rate, whether we talk about achievement rates, whether we talk about improved behaviors, whatever it is, we're talking about having a positive impact on kids. So don't get lost in the percentages. Rather, remind yourself, if we help kids, all of this can happen. So, with that, I want to go to another video.
It's Dr. Pete Luby coming to you from one of the operating rooms at the Sioux Falls Specialty Hospital, where I spent a lot of my time as an operating orthopedic surgeon and partner at Orthopedic Institute. I remember vividly thinking and still believe that my education in the Sioux Falls Public Schools prepared me beautifully for the challenges that I have faced in my education along the way. When I was at Stanford University, for example, I was competing against some of the best undergraduate talent in the country, including many individuals who had been educated at Exeter, and other top prep schools around the country. And yet I never felt, coming from the Sioux Falls Public Schools, that I was disadvantaged in any way, and I was able to compete beautifully in both undergraduate and in medical school at Washington University and through the rest of my training. I think my message to all of you sitting in that room and to those who are no longer sitting in that room, people like John Hilgren, who was my physics teacher at Lincoln High School and encouraged me to go to Stanford, and Rich Greeno, who was my track and field coach and my biology teacher at Lincoln High School, and Jerry Miller and the other coaches who helped form me into the adult I am today, is that what you guys do day in and day out matters. It's important, and it really matters to me, it matters to my family, to our community as a whole. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you for what you do.
Wow. Powerful testament to what you do. I want to talk to you next about what's our vision for attendance. Where are we? How's that going? I would tell you that just yesterday I did an interview with Kello on where are we on attendance, how are things going? And I thought there were two things that we did incredibly well this last year. One was we really brought awareness to the issue, and we became tremendous cheerleaders for attendance. Building by building, you did a great job of emphasizing the importance. And many of you also worked on incentivizing, whether that be in your classroom or in the hallways or through coupons or certificates or bikes. We did a nice job of incentivizing what needs to become part of a daily habit for our kids. I would tell you that we didn't move the needle in attendance like I hoped we would, but it's way too important to stop. Please stay vigilant on this topic, and we'll continue to look for ways to help in that attendance fight. I can tell you we have a meeting this afternoon. We're looking at piloting a program in a couple of our schools and to see if this program, this external force, can come in and help us with attendance. I'll know more about that later today, and certainly you'll know more about it in the weeks to come if that's a direction we move. But as we dug down into the attendance data, as I looked at that through the help of Doug Morrison and Dr. Teresa Boyson, one of the things that we noticed as we look at our data and we go, we're not where we want to be, darn it. But when we looked deeper, what we found was we had a lot of kids, and I don't remember the exact number, so I'll go with the term a lot. We had a lot of kids who were one day away from meeting the attendance mark. And we had even more kids who were 2 days away from meeting the attendance mark. And if we could round up those kids and get them to attend 1 or 2 more days during the school year, our attendance rate would look phenomenal. Now, that doesn't solve the issue we have with habitual non-attenders or the mobility rate and the lack of attendance that comes with that. But it does say we can make a big difference in those lives and in our attendance rate by making a difference in those lives. So stay at it, stay vigilant, and we will as well in the central office, and let's do our best to improve that attendance rate between this year and next year. In the meantime, it's time for another video.
My name is Bryce Brents. I am from Sioux Falls, South Dakota, born and raised. I attended Harvey Dunn Elementary, Patrick Henry Middle School, and I finally graduated from Washington in 2010. From there, I went to Concordia College in Moorhead, Minnesota, where I studied both math and physics, graduated with a degree in each in 2014. And now today, I'm here at the University of Notre Dame pursuing a PhD in nuclear astrophysics. This is sort of the lab that I work in. This is the nuclear science lab here at Notre Dame. This is one of our target rooms. You can see everything kind of all around. The accelerator is back behind that wall behind me to protect from radiation. It's not on right now. It comes through, these are all different target areas where we run experiments from and try to analyze different nuclei and see if we can try to learn more about where elements are produced in stars and in the universe, or how they're produced. And so, one of the things that people always say to me whenever I tell them what I do and explain the work that I do, a lot of people always tell me, oh wow, I hated that in high school. I hated science. I hated X subject. And I always think, you know, you wouldn't feel that way if you'd have had my experiences. And I truly mean that. I had such an incredible experience growing up in my education in the Sioux Falls School District. And I wouldn't be here today if it weren't for all of your hard work and contributions in my life, for all of your guidance, your support, your patience, because I know I wasn't necessarily the best student always, sometimes often. Even subjects that I didn't like, my teachers often encouraged me and helped me find things I was able to enjoy. And so to everyone who's always saying those things to me, I just think, you should have grown up in Sioux Falls. And I just want to say especially thank you to everyone whose path I may have crossed along the way, who's helped me, guided me, and supported me. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Those testimonials are so much more powerful than anything I could say, without a doubt. You see the impact you've had on the achievement of folks we've already seen and folks we're yet to see. So speaking of achievement, let's talk about achievement. Or we can stay there. We can stay there. I can do this. As my 3-year-old granddaughter told me earlier this summer, that's okay, I can be flexible and do that. So, cultural, yeah, you know what? That's me who's jumped ahead. I apologize. That's me. So, thank you for being flexible and not pointing out my inadequacies here. Let's talk about cultural sensitivity. Number one, I would say you already know the numbers. You know how our community has changed from a demographics perspective. You know how our school district has changed from a demographic perspective. I'll just go very quickly over the big changes. In one generation, in 25 years, the school district has gone from 94% white to 65% white. We've gone from 6% minority students to 35% minority students. In one generation, that's really quick. That's a very quick turn and change in that particular demographic. And I would tell you, as we started down the road of becoming more culturally sensitive as a school district, it's clear to me at this point that I don't know what I don't know. And it's clear to me that we don't know what we don't know. Another thing that's real clear is, as we deal with a changing demographic, it's clear to me that we're in our infancy. We're just in the beginning stages of figuring out what this new reality is for our school system and for our community. We must learn, we must grow, we must evolve as an organization. I can tell you we're taking some steps as a district right now. And one of the first things that we're trying to do is make sure that we're educated, everybody in this room, regardless of race, religion, ethnicity. We want to make sure that we're educated on what cultural sensitivity is. And we want to make sure that we continue to educate our workforce, educate our students, and make sure that we understand what cultural sensitivity is. We don't know what we don't know. Here's one thing I am certain of, though, and that is when it comes to all things we're talking about today, but certainly when we talk about cultural sensitivity, we'll be judged by our actions. Our actions will determine what we really do in this space that we call cultural sensitivity. We'll be judged by those actions. Our words are important, but our actions are critical. Do we mean it when we say we embrace diversity? Or are those just nice words? Embracing diversity. Do I take care of kids? Do I take care of adults? Do our hiring practices reflect that we embrace diversity? It's one thing to read about it. It's one thing to talk about it. it's yet an entirely different thing to act on it. Cultural sensitivity is something that we will continue to work on, I'm guessing, for years, certainly for as long as I'm in the district. Cultural sensitivity is critical, and it's something that won't leave our radar. Okay, it's time for another video before we go to student achievement.
Hi, my name is Ina. I went to Cleveland Elementary School, Harvey Dent Elementary School, Patrick Henry Middle School, and I graduated from Washington High School in 2012. I worked in a research lab for a couple of years in Minneapolis in the Department of Pediatrics in a neuroscience lab, and I did genetic things. So it's genetic things in a neuroscience lab in the Department of Pediatrics. And I stayed there for a few years, and then I published a medical review in South Dakota Medicine, which I am very proud of if you happen to read it. Right now, I am very interested in actually using Western medicine and Eastern medicine collaboratively. I grew up with Eastern medicine, being from a myself being a first-generation American, but everything I learned in school, most of it was Western medicine, so I'm currently working at an acupuncture clinic to learn more about Eastern medicine in a more professional setting. Behind me you can see here some charts of acupressure points, and got some acupuncture needles back here as well. This is the clinic that I work in right now for acupuncture. So I'm very interested in using the two collaboratively in the future, and I hope to be able to do something groundbreaking with that. I want to say thank you to all of my teachers for helping me get to where I am today, for letting me follow the interests that I'm interested in because of all the help that you give me. I want to say thank you to Mr. Gary, my second grade teacher, my high school counselor, Mr. Sieber, all of my teachers really, all the teachers, faculty, staff, everything that you do for everybody is so greatly appreciated. Thank you so much for all that you do. A little motivation thank you in Chinese. 老师们谢谢，真的感谢你们帮了我们那么多，还有加油。Thank you so much.
Next, we'll talk about student achievement. And I should probably say, I should stop and say thank you very much to Ben Schumacher, who is the person behind really putting a lot of what you see today together. And I think Ben is the one flipping the sides. I'm not positive about that, but I think he is. And Ben, thanks for not calling me out when I screwed up, and kind of inferred that you, I didn't kind of infer, I inferred that you did. So please give a hand to Ben Schumacher. Student achievement. Student achievement is critical at every level. The first level we talk about is third grade, but it's not any more important or any less important than the achievement and the growth that we see in kindergarten, or the achievement and the growth that we see in 7th grade, or 10th grade, or 12th grade. It's just one of the first real markers. And this quote is one of the reasons it's one of the first real markers. And that quote is, a study conducted by the Annie E. Casey Foundation found that a student who cannot read on grade level by 3rd grade is 4 times less likely to graduate high school on time than a child who does read proficiently by that time. If he or she lives in poverty, they are 13 times less likely to graduate on time compared to his or her proficient, wealthier peer. I know you've seen that before, because it was up there last year. It may be up there again next year. This is a critical stage for us. That 3rd grade reading achievement. Again, it's not more important than any other grade level, but it's a real important marker because we know what happens if kids aren't on grade level by that time. We will simply continue to look for every opportunity to succeed in this particular area. We will continue to evaluate what we do in this particular area. How do we get kids reading on time? We're trying summer climb. We're trying various engaging activities for kids. We're trying a number of things. What we're going to really do is evaluate what's working and what's not working. And we're going to do our best to innovate so that we can get our kids reading on grade level by 3rd grade, because that's critical. It's also critical that they continue to grow in 4th grade and in 8th grade and in 12th grade. So please do your best, all of us do our best to get our kids reading at grade level, but more importantly, growing each year that we have students. Time for one more video.
Hey everybody, my name is Ty Wiley. I'm a graduate of Washington High School class of 2013. I attended Annie Sullivan Elementary as well as Whittier Middle School. I recently graduated from the University of Nebraska-Lincoln with degrees in interior design and graphic design. And following graduation, I started my own sign business back here in Sioux Falls. It would be impossible for me to thank everyone who has helped me reach the point I am today. The amount of support and encouragement from teachers, coaches, counselors, and administration in the Sioux Falls School District amazes me. Looking back, the most valuable thing I will take away and appreciate most is that the support doesn't stop the day class is out or after the final game of the season. All of you have the opportunity to change a life, and many of you listening to this have changed mine. There are many people I could share stories of, but there is one that has made the biggest impact of my life. Steve Kennedy was my elementary gym teacher, my sophomore football coach, as well as my varsity assistant coach. When I was in elementary school, he and another teacher, Kirk Skokstead, would come to school early and open the gym up so we could play basketball during the winter. They sacrificed their time for us, and it didn't go unnoticed. 10 years later, I received a letter from him after he attended a high school basketball game of mine. He wrote words of encouragement and support that I still have to this day, reminding me to work hard, have fun, and to maintain good character through whatever happens. Relationships like this are what makes all of you special. I want to thank everyone for doing this difficult job, and especially to those who had to deal with me. Thanks, and have a great school year.
I promise you, Ty was not picked because he went to the University of Nebraska. I also promise you he was under no obligation to show a picture from the Nebraska football stadium. Next, let's talk about engagement. And I could go on and on and on about this particular topic. You know, it's obvious to anybody really to know that schools are a place for kids to learn. It's a learning environment, and that's what we establish. But one of the other things that's a little bit less intuitive when you think about schools is it's a workplace for adults. 3,300 of you can attest to that. And I want to make sure that we have an engaged workforce, because we're competing with all other schools in the neighborhood, all other schools in the state, all other schools in the region. But also, if you're not a teacher, we're competing with a lot of business and industry for your time and for your talent. I want to make sure that this is a great place for you to work. One of the things that we do here to try to figure out the engagement of our workforce is we do the Gallup study. And I can tell you last year I was very pleased with what we saw in terms of improvement in the engagement of our staff. It's one data point. It's one way we can look at and say things are good or things are getting better. And I hope that we can continue to improve in that particular marker as we move forward. I really believe that engaged adults lead to engaged kids. And if we have both engaged adults and engaged kids, we've got a great place to work and a great place to learn. And that's certainly our goal. One of the things that I would say when we look at an engaged workforce, certainly compensation is part of that equation. And you all know about 2 years ago now, we went through the Blue Ribbon Task Force and the half-cent sales tax. And we saw a great jump in what happened in our state in general, but in the Sioux Falls School District specifically. I can tell you now that the final results have come in from that. Here's one thing that I am particularly proud of. Our Board of Education knew what they had to do, knew what they had to give in order to meet, because the half-cent sales tax came with certain thresholds that we had to meet. Our Board of Education went $4.8 million above what they had to give in order to meet those thresholds given to us by our legislature. I'm proud of them for doing that. I hope you recognize that they've gone above and beyond. I know it's still not enough, but it's a lot better than it was. Our average teacher's salary went from a little over $46,000 to a little over $51,000, just under a 10% increase. And our board, with the approval and support from the SFEA, made everybody's salary grow. So it wasn't just limited, it was for everybody. So I want to thank everybody for that. When it comes to engagement, another important piece is talking to each other and listening to each other. I can tell you from one point of view, we just went through this last spring. We went through the negotiations process, the SFEA and IPC. We were together multiple days, and I had heard horror stories of how that was going to go. And I can tell you none of that manifested itself in the dialogue that we have. I don't remember exactly how many days that we met, but I think it was 3, and then a lot of other conversations. But what we talked about was common good. And what we talked about was how do we create the best work environment that we can create. And what we talked about was creating the best learning environment that we could create. And there wasn't animosity. And there wasn't, I can't believe that side. At least I didn't hear that. It was an awesome give and take of what can happen in the negotiations process. And hopefully it was a blueprint for what will happen in the future. So to Pam Oberum and everybody else, thank you. Finally, when it comes to engagement, really we're talking about more than just job satisfaction. We're talking about being productive in work, not just taking on activities, but rather being productive. And how do we do that? And I think the best way that we can do that, well, number one, you have to have the compensation. Next to that, I think you have to have an environment that cares one for another. And I want you to care for people in your environment. And I'll challenge myself to do the same. I think if we care for one another, we can't help but to have an engaged environment and a place that's awesome to go to work on a day-to-day basis. And I think of that continuum of when we care about one another. And I'll talk about a couple of experiences that just happened in my sphere of influence. Number one, I can walk just a few feet down from my door, and there's Kate Bartell Nowak, a new mother, had her second child this spring. Little Sadie was welcomed in with big brother Connor and dad Ryan, and of course with Katie. And you share that experience at work, and that's awesome. And that's on this end of the continuum. And on the other end of the continuum, I walk a little around a corner and down the hall to where there's Jill Rand. And I know I saw Jill somewhere, but I don't remember where I saw her. Jill, are you here? There's Jill. You know, life happens. Life happens at work, and it happens to those we care about. And I asked Jill, can I talk just a little bit about your story? And she said yes. And so I thank you for allowing this, Jill. You know, last spring, Jill lost her husband. And how tough would that be for any of us to lose our spouse? I know some of you have gone through that. Jill just went through that. But as life happens, sometimes Jill went through that at the same time that she was battling cancer, and she battles it every day. But here's what I see. I see Jill Rand at work every day as she not only battles cancer, she battles through those things that are going to help her battle cancer that sometimes knock her down. I try to talk to Jill with some frequency, and just a couple of weeks ago I stopped by her cubicle and said, what an inspiration you are to go through what you've gone through and to live the life that you're living and to keep working and to keep being part of what we do. You're an inspiration, And Jill, I want you to know I care and we care. Thank you. There are so many instances of that. I remember last spring going to a funeral where the LBA staff was not only there mourning a beloved coworker, but also lifting each other up. And it was both sad and inspiring at the same time. And I could go on through the multiple buildings about the number of issues that we all deal with. But know that life's going to happen, and know that it's a little easier to get through those life circumstances if the people at work care for what you do. So please continue to care for one another. With that, before I start crying, I'm going to turn it over to another video.
Hi, my name is Katie Askew, and I live in the beautiful Denver, Colorado, but because I sit at a desk all day and it's not that interesting, I'm going to show you my bookshelf instead because it's what I do. So I started at Oscar Howe Elementary School, where I was there for a few years before I transferred to Mark Twain Elementary to be at the Challenge Center. And then I went to Memorial Middle School and graduated from Roosevelt High School in 2010. So shout out to Dr. Andrews, who is my 5th grade teacher at the Challenge Center. She wrote our entire class an individual letter that we weren't allowed to open until high school graduation day. And somehow I resisted. But it said, among a lot of other things in there, it said that I needed to be a writer. And I did! So thank you, Dr. Andrews, and the entire Challenge Center staff. Miss Eisma, Miss Melvin, who's now Mrs. Dillon, and everyone else at the Challenge Center. Having that program in Sioux Falls changed my life and set me up for a great foundation for the rest of my school years. Also shout out to Mr. Okerlund at Roosevelt High School, who encouraged me to be a journalist. And also thank you to Mrs. Benz. I mean, you know you're amazing. You know, you were my first editor, and you always pushed us all to be better writers, deeper thinkers, and just better people in general. And I wouldn't be where I am today without your foundation in writing and editing. So thank you for that. I went to the University of Minnesota in Minneapolis to study journalism. I graduated from there in 3 years and then went to study publishing at NYU, but, well, I quit because I got a job offer to work at Reader's Digest, where I was an editor for a few years, before moving to France to live in the French Riviera in Monaco, to be a private English teacher, tutor, and au pair, which was a great adventure, living in the French Riviera. And then I moved back to America and moved to Denver, Colorado, because I got a job offer to work as an editor at Southwest Art Magazine, where I talked to a lot of artists and art gallery owners and all over the West and Southwest. So I write and edit for them and get to tell a bunch of really fun stories. But I recently just quit that job because I got a job offer to work at Bigger Pockets Publishing Company. They make real estate investment books, business books. They have a podcast, a really active website. Just seems like a really great next opportunity for me. So that's where I'm going to next.
Now that was some energy. And Gina Benz, you know you're the best. Fact. Okay, let's talk about another portion of the strategic plan. It's in the facilities portion where we talk about engage the community in a dialogue about enrollment trends and their potential impact on facilities. You will see a lot, you will hear a lot about this particular area in the coming years. As we talk about our facilities plan, there are multiple layers to the conversation, and I'm going to talk about each one of the bullets that you see on there right now. What level are we talking about? What significance does 1923 have in this conversation? What about the philosophy behind this whole facilities conversation? What do we do regarding input? And how in the world does 1997 tie into the conversation? So let me move forward here. When it comes to the what level conversation, I get the question of, so what do you need in the Sioux Falls School District from a facility standpoint? I think this slide helps talk about what we need. When I think about our high schools, or at least last year, the number of high school seats that we have, I know that I have a finite number, right? There are so many seats at Roosevelt. Washington, Lincoln, New Tech, CTE, Joe Foss. We can calculate that number. If I take that number for our 4 highest grades, 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th, and I call that number X, there's another math lesson today, call that number X, and I compare that number to our first 4 grades from last year, kindergarten, first, second, and third. I have to add 1,100 to X because our first 4 grades are 1,100 students larger than the number of seats we have available in our last 4 grades. So what do we do there? How do we figure that out? Well, one of the good pieces of information is we don't have to figure that out today, but I can tell you we have a relatively short period of time to figure out what is a facilities dilemma there. The second bullet, you see Roosevelt High School, Washington High School, Lincoln High School, Rapid City Central, and Rapid City Stevens. Those are the 5 largest schools in the state of South Dakota. And I know a number of you know this already, so if you do, please don't shout out the answer. For those of you who don't know or haven't heard this from me before, you have any idea what the 6th largest school in the state of South Dakota is? You might think Aberdeen High School. You might think Watertown High School. You might think Brandon Valley High School. You might think Harrisburg High School. But it's Memorial Middle School. The 6th largest building in the state of South Dakota has 3 grades in it. And it's Memorial Middle School with over 1,300 kids in it. And they do a great job. I don't have parents calling me and saying, get my kid out of there, it's overcrowded. But it's full. And those of you who are at Memorial, I'm sure would attest to that. So that's a middle level issue that we have. Well, the 900 then talks a little bit about where are we at the elementary level. Discovery Elementary last year was just over 900 students at times. At times they were just under 900. Pettigrew is well into the 800s, knocking on 900. By full disclosure, Pettigrew has some early childhood that we could take out of there, but then we have to put it somewhere, right? So what level? This is just a quick illustration that we have facility needs from an enrollment perspective at every level, at the elementary level, at the middle level, and at the high school level. And we hear, or at least I hear conversations in the community about what are you going to do at the high school? And I don't have the answer yet, but I also don't have the answer for what are we going to do at the middle level and what are we going to do at the elementary level, because we must do something. 1923, what significance does that have to this conversation? Well, I think it's one thing to talk about our facilities from an enrollment perspective, but the other thing that I think we need to look at when we talk about our facilities is what's the current shape of our existing facilities? And the reason I chose Whittier is it's our oldest building, 1923, 94 years old. And I say it's seasoned, I don't say it's old. 18 stands for the number of levels that we have in the Whittier building. Don't confuse that with stories. We don't have it, it's not an 18-story building, but you go up a step or down a step or up a couple of steps or down a couple of steps 18 different times in that building, and that creates some real logistical issues, certainly, and some ADA issues beyond a shadow of a doubt. 12 is the number of additions, number of times Whittier has been worked on since 1923. And the careful means, I got to be careful because that thing's a tank. It's not crumbling. It's not getting ready to fall down. But I wonder how much money, how much addition, how much more should we do in a 94-year-old building? And I don't know the answer to that. I'm not trying to lead you anywhere with that other than to say we need to look at all of our facilities like we're looking at Whittier and see where do we need tender loving care and where do we need to start over. We need to do an analysis of our existing facilities. The next thing that I want to talk about as it relates to facilities is our philosophy. Number one, when we look at our boundaries, are they appropriate for today? I should have looked, and I don't know the last time that we redid boundaries. I should know that, but I don't. So I know it's been longer than 3 years as I enter my 3rd year. But as our community grows and changes, and buildings that are filled to capacity and buildings that maybe aren't quite filled to capacity, how do we make sure that we're using those resources the best we can? Boundaries, I think, has to be part of this conversation of philosophy on how we redo the boundaries, probably at every level, elementary, middle school, and high school. Even if we don't change it, we need to revisit it. And then the other philosophical conversation we need to have is, how big is too big? What's the right size for a high school? Is it 3,000 kids? Is it 1,500 kids? Is it somewhere in between there? That's a conversation we need to have. And we need to have that same conversation at the elementary level and at the middle level. So philosophy will be a big part of the conversation as we move forward. Input. You know, as a superintendent, I don't just get to decide whether or not we build a new school, high school, middle school, or otherwise. Some of you may think that I get to make that decision, but I don't. I would contend that our board doesn't get to make that decision, at least not in a vacuum. And here's why I say that. We have a lot of students that we need to talk to and get input from. They'll give us great insight. We need to talk to you, to our staff, to talk to us about some of the issues and challenges that we have and some of the solutions that might be right under our nose that we don't understand yet. We need to talk to our parents and we need to talk to our community. And the reason I separate parents from community is I think sometimes it's fairly easy to get the parents engaged in the conversation, but I think we need to be also intentional in how we reach out to those people who no longer have kids in our schools or who yet to have kids in our schools. I think that's part of that great community input. So at that point, our board can look at all of that information and then make a tough decision. So that's what I meant by input. So how are we going to accomplish this? How are we going to go about putting all of this stuff together, if you will? Rather than go through a month-by-month analysis, I will tell you from now through November, we'll be working hard on really the facts of the case, if you will. What is our enrollment? What is our projected enrollment? What buildings are full? What buildings are nearly full? What buildings can we give some tender loving care and live in for years to come? And what buildings should we not invest in anymore? That's kind of that fact-finding mission that we'll be on this first semester. And in December, then, we'll report those findings to the Board of Education in a work session so they can stay abreast of all of the information that's out there. When we flip the calendar to 2018, and that's just not very long from now, what we'll really do at that point is engage the community in a conversation. And I think one of the first things we'll need to do really is to bring in an expert to facilitate that conversation. Bring in somebody from outside the school district to lead us through that conversation and put a group together that at least today we're calling Facilities for the Future group, to ask them, give them the facts, but then ask them, what do you think we should do? What could you support us doing? And then ultimately, about a year, right after that, and that group I anticipate being about 25 people or so, cross-section of our community. And then from there, going out to our full community at community sessions and having an open dialogue about potential solutions to our facilities challenge. I call it our delightful challenge. And then ultimately, about a year from now, back to our board to really develop a scope for a project that's really, I think, going to be quite complex and quite a challenge. And that leads me to one other year that you saw on the original slide, which was 1997. Why 1997? Now, I should tell you that Deanne wanted me to get up and do something crazy like this and stand on here and say something about Titanic, but not going to do that. But I will talk about 1997. Why is 1997 important to this conversation? It's the last time we ran a bond issue in the school district. And are we headed there again? I don't know that for sure, but I would say quietly, probably. The next slide shows that when we talk about the future for facilities, and it's on purpose that bond issue is in very small letters there, because I don't know if that's where we're headed, but I suspect that's where we're headed. We have a lot of challenges from a facilities perspective, either due to age and condition of facilities or to enrollment growth. And the challenges that I think we have, even though I don't know the solution, the challenges that I think we have are going to cost more than we can possibly come up with through the general budget. So we're going to have to go to our community and say, will you support this endeavor? So that'll be a big part of where we're headed. Okay, you've heard me speak for a long time here. Let's go to a couple more videos, and I'm just about done.
Hi, my name is Emily Flanders. I attended JFK Elementary School, Memorial Middle School, and I graduated from New Technology High School in 2014. Currently, I am in my final semester of the nursing program at South Dakota State University and will be graduating with my Bachelor's of Science in Nursing degree on August 11th of this year. Upon graduation and completion of my licensing exam, I will be joining the team at Sanford as a registered nurse. I would like to thank my 6th grade science teacher, Mr. Smith, my 8th grade science teacher, Mr. Hanneman, and my 12th grade chemistry teacher, Ms. Soufflo, for piquing and keeping my interest in science. I would also like to thank my CTE biomed teacher, Mrs. Hutchinson, for introducing me into the medical world of science.
The next slide is a slide that's intentionally in here, and it's just to talk a little bit about, I think it's important that we remember that we are part of the ecosystem that makes up this great city of Sioux Falls. And you see Sioux Falls in very large letters and school district in very small letters. And what I want you to take from that is we're part of a bigger mission. You've seen that referenced in videos here throughout the day. We're part of a bigger mission and part of a greater service to our community. I see the community as the ecosystem that we live in and that we must be involved in. And I want to take pride in our city, but I want to take a humble approach to how we approach our task in being part of that ecosystem that is the school district of Sioux Falls. One more video.
To explore the unknown, I want to adventure and feel alive. Just close your eyes and you can go anywhere across the hills and mountaintops.
And I'm in kindergarten, and if I grow up, I'm going to be a basketball player. Hi, my name is Ella. I am from LBA and I go to first grade. And what I want to be when I grow up is a cowgirl and a dentist and a doctor and a sheriff and a cop. Hello everyone, my name is Roshika Rai. I am in second grade at Garfield. When I grow up, I want to be a doctor because of two reasons. One is when I was 5 years, my parents bought me a doctor kit. Since that day, I am playing with my doctor kit every day because I am inspired. The other reason is because I always love to care and cure people. Therefore, if I become a doctor, I can care and cure people in need of care. Thank you all.
Hello everyone, my name is Lorraine and I go to Garfield.
I'm in third grade. And when I grow up, I want to be a basketball player and an astronaut and a doctor. One reason for each job. One reason I want to be a basketball player. My first time seeing someone playing basketball, I seemed so interested, so I wanted to try. So I tried and I only got one goal in, so since that day I wanted to be a basketball player. And one reason for my second job about being an astronaut, my teacher, Miss Novak, read us a book. The title of the book was 100 Things About Space. I really loved that book, so thank you, Miss Novak. And finally, my last reason why I want to be a doctor is that I always want to help people. Thank you.
Hikers through the trees. We can be sailors on the ocean blue. We can be.
My name is Hudson. I am going into 4th grade. I go to Sonia Sotomayor, and I want to be a librarian when I grow up.
Just close your eyes, and you can go anywhere.
Hello, my name is Lincoln. I'm a 5th grader at Sonia Sotomayor. When I grow up, I want to be a photographer or a football player.
Hi, my name is Lily Moon. I'm going to be a 6th grader at Memorial Middle School, and when I grow up, I want to be an entrepreneur.
Hi, I'm Micah Ann. I'm a 7th grader at Patrick Henry, and when I grow up, I want to work with kids with disabilities.
Do so much to see, but what matters the most is that you and I are alone and we can truly call this.
Hello, my name is Kamal Vasefi. I go to Memorial Middle School and I'm going into 8th grade. I hope to get into Harvard University to major in meteorology to pursue a career in the National Weather Service.
Hi, my name is Ariana Rice. I'm a freshman at Lincoln High School, and in my future I plan on taking courses to help me prepare to go to college for forensic profiling or forensic psychology.
My name's Nathan Moon. I'm going to be a sophomore at Roosevelt High School. And after high school, I'd like to attend Texas A&M University and major in mechanical engineering.
Hello, my name is Amy Pham, and I am a junior at Roosevelt High School. I plan to apply to universities on the coast, including the UC system in California. And I plan to major in chemistry and minor in philosophy.
I want to adventure and feel alive. Just close your
Hello, my name is Rahama Tretta. I am a senior at Washington High School. Next year, I plan on studying pre-medicine with a biology major at Creighton University.
Just close your eyes, and you can go anywhere. Across the hills and mountaintops, through the caves and beyond the waves.
Did you notice how the narrative changed from when I grow up to just in a couple of years? Number one, I would say, as I look in reverse chronological order, you've really done well. And as I think of the youngest, you've got your work cut out for you. We got a lot to do. Okay, thank you to all of you for coming and spending time with us this morning. What a great reflection of what we have in our school district. Everything we do in our work is human development. Everything we do, from teaching sight words to teaching reading skills, to teaching addition facts, to teaching Newton's laws, to teaching the Pythagorean theorem, everything from motor skills to manners, all of those things really are about human development. And it's not just the development of the students, but it's about our own personal development as well. And I am convinced that the best professional development we can give ourselves is personal development. So I challenge each of you to continue to grow personally. That's the best thing you can do for you. It's the best thing you can do for the kids that you serve. When it comes to professional development, I've seen some great things just in the last couple of weeks. I was at Garfield last week to watch a little bit of the Leader in Me information that was out, and I kind of got caught up into it. In fact, I couldn't leave. It was kind of a 10-minute superintendent wave and get out of there. You know the routine. And I couldn't do it. I was there. I was mesmerized. It was fascinating. I can't wait to see the good things that happen as a result of that. Just before that, I was at the computer science immersion and saw truly an engaged staff at 3 of our elementaries, and I can't imagine what else has all gone on across the district. But all of that, the Leader in Me, the computer science immersion, it's all about human development. It's all about personal development. I challenge you again to grow personally so that you can grow professionally. Take care of yourself, take care of each other, and I promise you we'll take care of the kids. My final thing, I'll close with this as I do every year, is I want you to leave, I want you to be happy, and I want you to be proud. After all, you work for the Sioux Falls School District. Have a great day and have a great year.